Ice Age Collision Course is directed by Mike Thurmaier, written by Michael J. Wilson, Michael Berg, and Yoni Brenner, and features the voices of every single person who was in the previous Ice Age movies. Simon Pegg returns, but now we have Jesse J, Adam Devine, Nick Offerman, Stephanie Beatriz, and Max Greenfield. And in Ice Age Collision Course, Scrat, the goddamn squirrel, has somehow managed to cause chaos in space, and he ends up making asteroids rain down upon planet Earth, endangering everyone's lives in the process because he can't give up his acorn addiction. So Manny, Sid, Diego, and everyone else have to find a way to survive. Now, I actually watched Ice Age Collision Course before I got to see Dawn of the Dinosaurs and Continental Drift, and after watching this one, Ice Age 5, I was thinking to myself, okay, it was a mediocre movie, it was nothing special or anything, but after going back and watching all the other Ice Age movies, I just hated this the more I thought about it. This is the first Ice Age movie that is really, truly very, very bad. The plot is totally non-existent, it is boring as all hell, and it doesn't even look that good. First, we have to talk about the story here, because there is none. There is no story. The way the characters all act throughout this movie is completely illogical. First, let's talk about Scrat. Okay, fine, I give Scrat a lot of hate, but I will admit that I was just kind of indifferent about him in the first movie, and I was sort of amused by his bits from Ice Age 2 to 4, but here, you just hate him when he's on screen because he's pretty much the villain here. He is the direct cause of all the danger everyone else is experiencing, and all for what? An acorn? Really? But everyone on Earth really decides to go and find a solution to this problem that they're having because Buck comes out of the subterranean jungle because he's read this ancient pillar, and he knows how to kind of lead the asteroids away from Earth, if that makes any sense. And I appreciate having Buck back because he's very different compared to the other characters, but I just think this is kind of a stretch for his character. I don't think he would play the hero like this, and this is something the series keeps doing over and over again. It takes old characters and kind of rewrites them to make them super inconsistent with who they were before. And let's talk about all the other characters in the movie. First of all, Manny, guess what his arc has to do with? If you guessed family, you are right. Manny's emotional arc has to do with family again. It's the same thing over and over again. This time he has to learn to accept his daughter's fiance or something, and that's so weird. His daughter is getting married she was a teenager in the last movie. The time jump from 4 to 5 is really, really weird. Again, Sid's only purpose in this movie is to be a complete idiot. He is no longer the underdog from the first movie. And then Diego is married? Really? At first I was thinking, okay, in Continental Drift they give him a love interest. That's kind of weird, but here he's married, and his emotional arc has to do with him, wanting to have a family, but they scare kids because they're saber-toothed tigers, really? And then the three villains here, which are these dinosaurs with feathers played by Nick Offerman, Stephanie Beatriz, and Max Greenfield, they're totally lame. There's no build-up to them whatsoever. The two giant fish from Ice Age 2 had more of a build-up. And again, this script is just so full of imbalanced juvenile humor. There were a few nipple jokes in here that were just totally out of left field. And again, the resolution to everyone's issues only really happens at the end. The entire middle section has nothing to do with any of it. And this is one of those movies that seems to move really fast because the editing is really fast, the jokes are quick. But nothing is actually happening in terms of story progression until an hour into the movie. If you watch the trailer and they arrive at this place called Geotopia, they only get to that place when there's only 30 minutes left in the runtime. And then in the last 30 minutes, everything wraps up really, really abruptly. The editor here, James Palumbo, really can't fit all these pieces together, and I don't really blame him because there are just so many little different character moments happening throughout the story, but they have nothing to do with, the general story or the general theme. They're just, random jokes thrown in so the kids don't get bored. And when the Scrat stuff happens, it's just so infuriating, and you do not want to see it because he's just causing more trouble for these people. And in the last 30 minutes, when they have to avert this whole crisis, you don't feel any sort of suspense. In fact, the only thing that matters in these ending parts is Manny's emotional arc. Who cares if the world's gonna end? It's all about him accepting his daughter's fiance. And the director, Mike Thurmaier, never really makes the end of the world feel urgent. When the asteroids first hit, everyone's losing their minds, but from that point until the end, everyone's just kind of making jokes and having fun. And you might say I'm taking this movie too seriously. I know it's just an Ice Age movie, but even when you look at Ice Age 2, what Carlos Saldana did with that movie and how he made global warming and stuff feel urgent, it can be done. It really is just totally tone-deaf direction with no emotional weight, no comedic timing, and no sense of wonder or adventure, no minimal world building at the very least, and there's no real action happening here. Just lots of walking. There's no opportunity for the director to show off any style. But hey, at least it looks good, right? No. It does not look good. I mean, not only does it not look good compared to other animated films that have come out recently, like Zootopia, Kung Fu Panda 3, Finding Dory, even Blue Sky's own Peanuts movie, but it doesn't even look good compared to the last two Ice Age movies. Like, the animation isn't bad per se, it's not as bad as Ratchet and Clank, but there's just no more visual imagination to it. The asteroids and the Geotopia stuff are just bland and generic, the villains look lame and non-threatening, the Scrat stuff doesn't even have the kind of depth that you would normally see in the depictions of space in film today. And everyone moves like a caricature. There's no more realistic grounding to any of these characters. They all move like Buck. And with regard to the voice cast, Ray Romano is back to being goofy and he just doesn't feel like Manny anymore. John Leguizamo and Dennis Leary, again, barely have anything to do. Queen Latifah, Sean William Scott, and Josh Peck have somehow managed to remain just as uninteresting as they were when they were introduced in the second movie. Wanda Sykes is doing her same shtick, and I'm pretty sure Jennifer Lopez only gets like 2 real lines in this entire film. Adam Devine has no depth to him, neither do Nick Offerman, Stephanie Beatriz, and Max Greenfield. In all honesty, the only part of this movie that I would give like a minimal positive to would be Simon Pegg, because he's the only person in the cast who seems like he's having fun, though he's still a bit too over the top for me. I think what this movie needed was more Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he gets like a surprisingly meaty cameo speaking role in this movie, and he should have been in it more because he has a cool voice. But yeah, don't be mistaken, Ice Age Collision Course is a really, really bad movie. Please don't watch it. Don't give these people money because they just have to stop making these movies, okay? Just stop it. Like, focus on your better properties, like the Peanuts movie. I mean, that was really good. Come on, Blue Sky. Alright, I'm finally done with this franchise. Those are my thoughts on Ice Age Collision Course. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.